Supreme Overlord Zethkalar watched the small human vessel approach his fleet from the command center of his massive bioship. The crystalline being stood 3 meters tall, his body made of living crystal that pulsed with inner light. His consciousness stretched across multiple dimensions, allowing him to see things that normal beings could not perceive. For millions of years, Zethkalar had led the Valdrani collective across the galaxy. They had conquered 47 different galaxies, destroying or enslaving every intelligent species they encountered. His fleet of bioships had never faced defeat. Each ship was grown rather than built, created from living crystal that could repair itself and adapt to any threat. "Master, the alien vessel continues to approach," said War Commander HFY. The smaller Valdrani flickered with nervous energy, his crystal body showing patterns of confusion. Their communications are primitive mathematical sequences and cultural data. They appear to be attempting peaceful contact. Zethkalar felt amusement ripple through his consciousness. Peaceful contact was something the Valdrani had not experienced in thousands of years. Every species they encountered either surrendered immediately or fought desperately before being crushed. These humans seemed to fit neither pattern. "How large is their vessel?" Zethkalar asked. 12 kilometers in length, Master. It appears to be their largest ship. Our scouts detected no other vessels in the area." The Supreme Overlord studied the human ship on his viewing crystal. It was impressive by the standards of most species they had conquered, but still tiny compared to his bioships. Each of his vessels housed millions of warrior drones and contained enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. "They send only one ship to face our entire fleet," Zethkalar mused. "Either they are incredibly brave or incredibly foolish." On the bridge of the Leviathan, Captain Jake Morrison continued trying to establish communication with the alien fleet. Amy Foster had been transmitting messages for 2 hours without receiving any response. The alien ships simply floated in space, their crystalline hulls singing that strange harmonic melody. "Any luck with communications, Amy?" Jake asked. "Nothing, Captain. They are receiving our transmissions, but they are not responding." Amy adjusted her equipment and tried a different frequency. "Wait, I am detecting energy buildup in the lead ship. Something is happening." Dr. Lisa Campbell looked up from her science station with concern on her face. "Captain, I am reading massive power signatures from several of the alien vessels. The energy levels are increasing rapidly." Jake felt his stomach tighten. "Battle stations. Raise shields and prepare weapons, but do not fire unless I give the order." Alarm sounds echoed through the Leviathan as 50,000 crew members rushed to their emergency positions. Chief Engineer Ryan Davis reported from engineering that all systems were ready. The ship's quantum shields activated, creating an invisible barrier around the massive vessel. Zethkalar decided that these humans needed to understand their situation quickly. In his experience, most species became more reasonable after a demonstration of Valdrani power. He would disable their ship with a single plasma burst, then offer them the choice of surrender or destruction. "Target their propulsion systems," he commanded. "Use a level 7 plasma discharge. That should cripple them without destroying the vessel completely." War Commander HFY activated the bioship's main weapon. The crystalline hull glowed brighter as energy flowed through living conduits toward the firing chamber. The plasma cannon had never failed to disable an enemy vessel in a single shot. It could melt through solid neutronium like it was paper. Firing. "Now, Master," HFY announced. A brilliant beam of superheated plasma erupted from the Valdrani ship and struck the Leviathan directly. The energy was enough to destroy a small planet, focused into a beam no wider than the human vessel itself. Jake watched the plasma beam hit his ship and waited for the impact reports. Seconds passed, then more seconds. Finally, Chief Engineer Ryan Davis came over the communication system. "Captain, plasma beam has struck our forward shields. No damage to report. Shield integrity remains at 100%. The bridge crew stared at each other in amazement. Jake had known their quantum shields were advanced, but he had not expected them to completely stop such a massive energy blast without even flickering. On the Valdrani command ship, silence filled the crystal chambers. War Commander HFY checked his instruments 3 times before speaking. "Master, our weapon had no effect on their vessel. Their defensive systems absorbed the entire plasma discharge without any apparent strain." For the first time in 1,000 years, Zeth Kalar felt something he had almost forgotten: uncertainty. The plasma cannon was their primary weapon, capable of destroying any known defensive system. No species had ever survived a direct hit from. "Valdrani plasma fire! Increase power to maximum," he ordered. "Fire everything we have." 12 Valdrani bioships turned their weapons toward the Leviathan. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and quantum disruptors all fired at once. The combined energy output was enough to crack a moon in half. Space itself seemed to burn as the massive attack struck the human vessel. Dr. Campbell watched her instruments as the alien weapons hit their ship. The quantum shields not only stopped the attack, but actually seemed to grow stronger from absorbing so much energy. The exotic matter that made up their defensive grid was converting the incoming energy into additional protection. "Captain, this is incredible," she said with excitement in her voice. "Our shields are not just stopping their weapons. They are using the enemy fire to strengthen themselves. Shield power is now at 115% of normal." Jake felt a mixture of relief and worry. Relief that his ship and crew were safe, worry about what would happen next. If these aliens were used to winning battles easily, how would they react to facing an enemy they could not harm? The answer came quickly. The alien fleet stopped firing and fell into complete silence. Their harmonic singing ceased for the first time since the Leviathan had arrived. Even their bioships seemed to dim as confusion spread through the Valdrani collective. Supreme Overlord Zeth Kalar stared at his viewing crystal in disbelief. Every weapon in his arsenal had been useless against the human vessel. For millions of years, the Valdrani had believed they possessed the most advanced technology in the universe. Now, a single ship from an unknown species had shattered that belief in minutes. War Commander HFY and the other Valdrani officers waited for orders, but their leader said nothing. Zeth Kalar was experiencing something completely foreign to his nature. For the first time in his very long life, he did not know what to do. The crystalline beings had built their entire civilization on the idea that they were superior to all other life forms. Their culture, their religion, their very identity was based on conquest and dominance. But how could they conquer a species that their weapons could not even scratch? Captain Jake Morrison realized that his ship had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy. The alien fleet that had seemed so threatening now appeared confused and uncertain. Whatever these beings were used to, it was not facing an enemy they could not immediately defeat. "Amy, open a communication channel to the alien fleet," he said. "It is time we had a proper conversation." The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Captain Jake Morrison spent most of that time in his quarters, writing the most important report in human history. Outside his window, the stars seemed different now. They no longer looked peaceful. Somewhere out there, Alien fleets were preparing for war. Dr. Lisa Kane worked day and night on the data they had captured during the quantum connection. Her screen showed thousands of alien messages, battle reports, and strategic plans. Each piece of information was another puzzle piece in understanding the hegemony. "Captain," she said during one of their daily meetings, "I have finished analyzing their expansion patterns." Jake looked up from his own reports. "What did you find?" "The hegemony is not as strong as they want us to believe. Their last 10 conquests took much longer than the ones before. Some of their frontier fleets have been fighting the same battles for decades." Lisa showed him charts on her tablet, lines and numbers that told the story of an empire that was getting tired. "Look at this. 200 years ago, they could conquer a star system in 5 years. Now it takes them 20 years or more. They are spreading too thin. Why are they having more trouble now? I think it is because they are running out of easy targets. The species they meet now have had time to hear about the hegemony. They fight back harder. Some even work together against the aliens." Jake felt a spark of hope. "So they can be beaten?" "Maybe. But, Captain, there is something else. I found references to other species that fought back successfully. The hegemony calls them the Lost Worlds." Lost Worlds? Planets that the hegemony attacked but could not conquer. The aliens do not talk about them much, but I found some battle reports. There are at least 12 star systems that held out so long that the hegemony gave up and moved on to easier targets. Jake smiled for the first time in weeks. If other species could resist the hegemony, then humans could too. In the engine room, Dr. Sam Martinez studied the quantum drive readings from their encounter. The drives had performed better than expected, but they had also done something no one predicted. "Pete," he called to engineer Pete Collins, "look at these quantum signature patterns." Pete looked at the computer screens. "What am I looking at, Dr. Martinez?" "During the connection with the alien network, our drives created a kind of quantum fingerprint. I think we accidentally marked ourselves in their communication system." "Is that bad?" "I am not sure, but it means they can probably track our quantum signature now. They will know when we use the drives." Sam thought about this problem. The quantum drives gave the Leviathan a big advantage in battle. But if the aliens could track them, that advantage might disappear. "Start working on a way to change our quantum signature," he told Pete. "If we can make our drives look different to their sensors, we can keep our advantage." On the bridge, Commander Nina Hayes coordinated the ship's return to Earth. She also handled the flood of messages coming from human colonies throughout space. Word of the alien encounter was spreading fast. "Commander," said Communications Officer Dan White, "I have a priority message from the Mars Defense Command. They want to know if they should evacuate their civilian population." Nina thought about the question. Mars had 30 million people. Where could they go if the aliens came? "Tell them to prepare evacuation plans, but not to start evacuating yet. We need more information before we make that decision." More messages came in from across human space. The Jupiter mining stations wanted to know if they should abandon their facilities. The asteroid belt colonies asked if they should hide or fight. Everyone wanted answers that Nina did not have. In the intelligence section, Lieutenant Colonel Ben Foster worked with his team to analyze everything they had learned about hegemony tactics. The alien messages had given them a detailed look at how the Empire fought its wars. "They always start the same way," he explained to his officers. "First, they send scout fleets to study the target species. Then, they demand surrender. If that fails, they attack with overwhelming force. But we changed that pattern," said Intelligence Officer Mary Phillips. "Yes," For the first time, a scout fleet pulled back without fighting. That is going to confuse their high command. Ben pointed to a star map on the wall. Red dots showed known hegemony positions. Blue dots showed human colonies. The good news is that their nearest main fleet is still 6 months away from Earth. The bad news is that when it arrives, it will be huge. Maybe 1,000 ships or more. Can we fight that? Many ships? Asked analyst Kevin Brown. Not with what we have now. But if we build more ships like the Leviathan, we might have a chance. 2 weeks into the journey home, Captain Morrison called a meeting with all his senior officers. They gathered in the ship's main conference room. Through the large windows, they could see the stars ahead growing brighter. One of those stars was Sol, the home of humanity. "I want to hear your recommendations," Jake said. "When we reach Earth, the government will ask me what we should do. I need to know what each department thinks." Dr. Kane spoke first. "The aliens can be beaten, but not easily. We need to learn more about their technology. Maybe we can find ways to disrupt their bioelectric systems." Dr. Martinez nodded. "I agree. And we need to build more quantum drive ships. The drives give us an advantage they do not expect." Commander Walker leaned forward. "We need bigger weapons. The main cannon worked well, but against 1,000 enemy ships, we need something that can destroy multiple targets at once." Ben Foster had a different idea. "We should contact the lost worlds that Dr. Kane found. If other species have successfully resisted the hegemony, they might help us." Jake listened to all their suggestions. Each one was good, but none of them solved the basic problem. Humanity was one species facing an empire that had conquered thousands of worlds. "There is something else we need to consider," he said. "The quantum connection showed the aliens our history. They know we are a warlike species. That scared them, this time, but it might also make them more careful. Next time, they might bring enough ships to crush us, no matter how hard we fight." Commander Hayes spoke up. "So, what do you recommend, Captain?" Jake stood and walked to the window. Earth was still too far away to see, but he knew it was out there. Blue oceans and green continents. Billions of people who did not know their world was about to become a battleground. We tell Earth the truth. The hegemony is coming, and they are stronger than anything we have ever faced. But we also tell them that the aliens can be beaten. We have 6 months to prepare for the greatest war in human history. "And if Earth's government decides to surrender?" asked Dr. Kane. Jake turned back to face his officers. "Then we remind them of something the aliens learned during the quantum connection. Humans do not surrender. We fight. It is what we do." The meeting ended, and the officers returned to their duties. The Leviathan continued its journey home, carrying the news that would change everything. 5 days later, they reached Earth orbit. The planet looked exactly as they had left it. But everything was different now. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and the universe was a dangerous place. Admiral Rick Stone came aboard the Leviathan as soon as it docked with the orbital station. Jake gave him the full report in person. The Admiral listened without speaking until Jake finished. "So they will be back," the Admiral said. "Yes, sir, with a much larger fleet." "And you think we can fight them?" Jake thought about everything they had learned. About the lost worlds that had resisted the hegemony. About the aliens' fear when they saw human history. About the tired reports from their frontier fleets. "Yes, sir. I think we can. But it will not be easy." Admiral Stone stood and walked to the window. Below them, Earth turned slowly in space. Cities sparkled like stars on the night side of the planet. Then we better get started, he said. How? Many ships like the Leviathan do you think we need? At least 50, sir, maybe more. 50 ships in 6 months? That is impossible. Jake smiled. Admiral, 6 months ago, everyone said first contact with aliens was impossible too. Sometimes humans do impossible things. The Admiral smiled back. You are right, Captain. Sometimes we do. Within hours, construction began on 12 new shipyards in Earth orbit. Factories on the moon started producing new types of weapons. Scientists worked around the clock to understand quantum drive technology. The entire human race began preparing for war, but the Leviathan's mission was not over. As Jake stood on his bridge and watched Earth below, he knew they would have to go out again. The aliens would send more scout fleets. There would be other first contacts, other battles. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy as a species that would not go quietly into slavery or extinction. Now they had to prove it. Key. War for humanity's future was about to begin. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Leviathan, watching the stars through the massive viewing screen. The ship was huge, 12 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide. It was the biggest warship humanity had ever built. Jake had been its captain for 2 years now, and he still felt amazed when he looked at what humans could create. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers and life support systems. 50,000 people lived and worked inside this metal giant. They were explorers, scientists, engineers, and soldiers. All of them had left Earth behind to journey into the unknown parts of space. Captain, we have something strange on long-range sensors, said Amy Foster from her station. She was the communications officer, a young woman with bright eyes who never missed anything important. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel as she checked the readings again. Jake walked over to her station. What kind of strange, Amy? Energy signatures, sir. Very big ones. They don't match anything in our databases. Amy pointed to her screen where colorful lines moved across a star map. The signals are coming from the edge of our galaxy. Whatever is making them must be enormous. Dr. Lisa Campbell looked up from her science station. She was a tall woman with gray hair who knew more about alien life than anyone else on the ship. Captain, these readings are unlike anything we have seen before. The energy patterns suggest artificial origin, but the scale is beyond our current understanding. Jake felt his heart beat faster. Humanity had been traveling between the stars for almost 200 years. They had found 17 worlds where humans could live. They had discovered ruins of ancient civilizations on dead planets. But they had never found another living, intelligent species. How far away are these signals? Jake asked. About 6 light years, sir, Amy answered. At our current speed, we could reach them in 3 days. The captain thought carefully. First contact with aliens was something every human dreamed about and feared at the same time. What if they were friendly? What if they were not? His computer beeped with an incoming message from Earth. Admiral Kevin Brooks appeared on the screen. He was an older man with white hair and serious eyes. Jake had known him for 15 years and trusted him completely. Jake, we are seeing the same readings. Here at Sol Command, the Admiral said. Every deep space station in the sector is picking up these signals. Our best scientists think we might be looking at an alien fleet. How big of a fleet, sir? Jake asked. If our calculations are correct, very big. Maybe bigger than anything we could imagine. The Admiral paused and looked directly at Jake. I want you to investigate. Take the Leviathan and find out what we are dealing with. But be careful. We don't know what we are facing. Understood, sir. We will leave immediately. The Admiral's image disappeared, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. He looked around the bridge at his crew. These people had become like family to him over the past 2 years. Amy with her quick smile and brilliant mind, Dr. Campbell with her endless curiosity about the universe, Chief Engineer Ryan Davis, who could fix anything and make the impossible possible, Navigation Officer Helen Carter, who could plot a course through the most dangerous space. All of them trusted him to make the right decisions. Amy, send a message to all department heads. We are changing course to investigate unknown contacts. All departments should prepare for possible first contact situations. Jake sat down in his captain's chair. Helen, plot a course for those energy signatures. Best possible speed. Course plotted and ready, Captain, Helen replied. She was a quiet woman who spoke only when necessary, but Jake had never known her to make a mistake. Ryan, how are our systems? Jake asked through the ship's communication system. All systems running perfectly, Captain, came Ryan's voice from engineering. The quantum engines are operating at 100% efficiency. Our shields and weapons are ready for anything. Jake felt proud of his ship and crew. The Leviathan was not just big. It was the most advanced piece of technology humans had ever created. Its quantum armor could stop almost any weapon. Its engines could travel faster than light without creating the problems that older ships had. Its weapons used technology that most people could not understand. But Jake wondered if it would be enough. If they were really going to meet aliens, what would those aliens be like? Would they be peaceful explorers like humans claimed to be? Or would they be something else entirely? Dr. Campbell walked over to his chair. Captain, I have been thinking about these energy readings. The power levels we are detecting suggest technology far beyond our current capabilities. If these are alien ships, they are much more advanced than us. Are you worried, Doctor? Jake asked. Curious would be a better word, she replied. After spending my whole life wondering if we were alone in the universe, we might finally have an answer. 3 days passed quickly as the Leviathan traveled toward the mysterious signals. Jake spent his time reading reports and talking with his officers. The closer they got, the stronger the energy readings became. Whatever was out there was definitely real and definitely huge. On the 3rd day, Amy called out from her station. Captain, we are approaching the signal source. Long. Range sensors are picking up multiple large objects. Put it on the main screen, Jake ordered. The viewing screen changed to show what their sensors were detecting. Jake felt his breath catch in his throat. In front of them, hanging in space like glittering jewels, were dozens of enormous ships. Each one was the size of a small moon. They were made of what looked like crystal, but they moved and shifted as if they were alive. How many ships are there? Jake asked quietly. Helen checked her instruments. 47 vessels, Captain. Each one is approximately 50 kilometers in length. The bridge fell silent as everyone stared at the alien fleet. Jake had prepared for many possibilities, but nothing had prepared him for this. The ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time. They seemed to sing, creating a low harmonic sound that their sensors could detect even in the vacuum of space. Amy, try to make contact, Jake said. Use all standard first contact protocols. Amy began transmitting mathematical sequences, cultural information, and peaceful greetings in dozens of human languages. The alien ships did not respond. They simply continued their strange song and waited in the darkness of space. Jake knew that everything was about to change. Not just for his ship and crew, but for all of humanity. They were no longer alone in the universe. The question now was whether that was a good thing or a very bad thing. Dr. Sam Martinez wiped sweat from his face as he worked deep in the engine room of the Leviathan. The air was hot here, even with the cooling systems running at full power. Around him, massive machines hummed and glowed. These were the quantum displacement drives that made the ship special. Check the phase alignment again, he called to his team. We need everything perfect before we meet these aliens. The drives were new technology. Most people did not understand how they worked. Sam barely understood them himself. The drives could make the ship slip partly out of normal space. When that happened, the ship looked bigger and more dangerous to anyone watching. It also made the ship harder to hit with weapons. Dr. Martinez, called engineer Pete Collins from across the room. The quantum field is stable, but I am seeing some strange readings. Sam walked over to look at Pete's screen. Numbers and graphs showed the drive's performance. Most of it looked normal, but there was something odd in the quantum signature. What do you think it means? Pete asked. I am not sure, Sam said. But keep watching it. If these aliens use different technology than us, our drives might react in ways we do not expect. 3 levels up, Commander Nina Hayes walked through the crew quarters. She stopped to talk to groups of people as she went. The crew was nervous. Many had never been this far from Earth before. Commander, said pilot Jenny Clark, how long will we be gone? I do not know, Nina answered honestly. It depends on what we find out there. Are we really going to fight aliens? Asked engineer Bob Turner. Nina looked at the young man. He was maybe 25 years old. He had joined the space service to see new worlds, not to fight wars. We are going to try to talk first, she said. But we need to be ready for anything. She continued her walk through the ship. In the medical bay, doctors were preparing for injuries they had never seen before. In the food halls, cooks were making sure they had enough supplies for a long trip. Everywhere she went, people were working hard to get ready. In the intelligence section, Lieutenant Colonel Ben Foster studied everything they knew about the hegemony. It was not much. The message Dr. Kane had translated was the only real information they had. Their ships are alive, he told his team. Not made of metal like ours. They grow them like plants or animals. How is that possible? Asked intelligence. Officer Mary Phillips. We do not know, but the message talks about bioelectric systems. Everything runs on electrical signals like in a living brain. Ben pointed to pictures on the wall. They were guesses about what hegemony ships might look like. Long, curved shapes with no straight lines. Surfaces that might pulse like a heartbeat. The message also says they communicate through these bioelectric pulses, Ben continued. They might not understand radio signals like we use. What about their weapons? Asked analyst Kevin Brown. Unknown. But if their ships are alive, their weapons probably are too. Maybe something that grows and fires living projectiles. The team worked through the night, trying to learn about an enemy they had never seen. Down in the communications center, Commander Kate Phillips worked with Dr. Lisa Kane. They were trying to figure out how to talk to the hegemony when they met. Them. The message was sent using mathematical patterns, Lisa explained. Numbers that any intelligent species should understand. So we send them math problems? Kate asked. More than that. We use math to build a language. Start with simple concepts and work up to more complex ideas. Lisa showed Kate her work on the computer. Screens full of equations and symbols. See this pattern here? It represents basic addition. and this one shows multiplication. If we send these first, they should understand that we are trying to communicate." Kate looked worried. "What if they do not want to talk? The message you translated did not sound friendly." "Then we hope Captain Morrison and the weapons teams are ready." Speaking of weapons, Commander Troy Walker was running tests in the gun decks. The Leviathan carried weapons that could destroy entire cities, particle cannons that fired beams of pure energy, missile tubes that could launch nuclear warheads across space, and the main gun, a massive cannon that ran through the center of the ship. "Run another test on the main cannon," Troy called to his crew. "I want to make sure the targeting system is perfect." The main gun charged up with a deep humming sound that went through the entire ship. Lights flickered as it drew power. On the screens, Troy watched the weapon reach full charge. "Fire. A low-power test shot at that asteroid," he ordered. A thin beam of white light shot out from the ship. It hit a small asteroid floating nearby. The rock simply disappeared in a flash of light. "Good," Troy said. "But that was only 5% power. These aliens better hope they want to talk." On the bridge, Captain Jake Morrison looked at reports from all over the ship. His crew was working hard, but he could see the stress on their faces. They were leaving everything they knew behind. "Captain," said Navigator Dan Foster, "we are now 3 days out from Earth. Should I set course for the contact zone?" Jake looked at the star map. Red dots showed where long-range sensors had detected alien ships. They were still far away, but getting closer. "Yes. Take us to the edge of the Tau Ceti system. That is where our sensors last saw them." The ship changed direction slightly. Its massive engines glowed brighter as they pushed the huge vessel through space. Dr. Kane came onto the bridge carrying more translated sections of the alien message. "Captain, I found something new in the message," she said. "It talks about how the hegemony chooses which planets to attack first." "What do they look for?" "Planets with lots of different life forms. They seem to think variety makes a planet more valuable." Jake thought about Earth. Millions of different animals and plants. More variety than any planet they had found so far. That is not good news for us. No, it is not. But there is something else. The message mentions that they have trouble with planets where the main species fights a lot among themselves. Fights among themselves? Yes. Species that have wars. The message says those species are harder to control after they are conquered. Jake almost smiled. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. They had turned warfare into an art form. "Dr. Kane, keep working on the translation. I want to know everything about these aliens before we meet them." "Yes, Captain." Days passed as the ship traveled deeper into space. Earth was now just a bright star behind them. The crew settled into routines, but the tension never went away. They were flying toward the unknown. In the engine room, Dr. Martinez noticed the quantum drives were behaving strangely as they got farther from Earth. The readings Pete Collins had noticed were getting stronger. "It is like the drives are picking up some kind of signal," Sam told his team. "But not a radio signal, something that works through quantum space." "Could it be the aliens?" Pete asked. "Maybe. Or maybe our drives are more sensitive than we thought." In her quarters, Commander Hayes received messages from Earth. Families of crew members sending love and support. Government officials wanting updates. Scientists asking for data about the alien ships. She answered what she could, but there was not much to say yet. They were still days away from contact. On the bridge, Captain Morrison watched the stars and thought about what they would find. Were the hegemony as powerful as their message claimed? Would they be willing to talk? Or would humanity's first contact with aliens be a battle? Behind them, Earth continued its slow turn around the sun. Billions of people went about their daily lives. Most did not know that their fate was being decided by one ship flying toward an alien fleet in the darkness between the stars. The Leviathan flew on, carrying humanity's hopes and fears into the unknown. The alien fighters moved closer to the Leviathan like a swarm of angry insects. Their weapons glowed brighter as they prepared to fire. Captain Jake Morrison watched them come and felt time slow down. Dr. Martinez, activate the quantum displacement. Field now, he ordered. Down in the engine room, Dr. Sam Martinez pushed the activation button. The massive quantum drives hummed louder. Energy flowed through systems that humans barely understood. The ship began to phase partially out of normal space. Field activated, Captain, Sam reported. We are now 50% displaced. On the bridge. The crew watched as the space around them seemed to shimmer. The stars looked different, like they were seeing them through water. The alien fighters suddenly looked confused. Their sensors could not lock onto the Leviathan properly. Their weapons are having trouble targeting us, reported Commander Troy Walker. The quantum field is working. But something else was happening. Dr. Lisa Kane's translation equipment began making strange noises. Her screens filled with signals that should not have been there. Captain, she called out, I am getting massive data streams, not just from the ships around us. This is coming from everywhere. What do you mean, everywhere? The quantum field is picking up bioelectric signals from across space. I think we are tapping into their entire communication network. Jake ran to her station. The screens showed waves of data flowing like rivers of light. Numbers and symbols scrolled past faster than anyone could read. Can you translate any of it? I am trying, but there is so much information. Wait, I am getting something. Lisa's fingers moved quickly across her keyboard. The computer began sorting through the massive data stream. Slowly, words in English began to appear. Fleet Commander Yask to all sectors. Advance on schedule. Sector 7 reports. Full consumption of the Keth homeworld. Population harvested for biomass production. Reconnaissance Pod Zith reporting. New species located in Spiral Arm 4. Preliminary scans show high protein content. Recommend immediate harvesting operations. Warsinger Molth to breeding facilities. Request additional warrior spawn for next wave of expansion. Current forces insufficient for 3-front assault. The messages kept coming. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Reports from across the entire hegemony empire. My God, whispered Commander Hayes. This is their entire military communication system. Dr. Martinez's voice came over the communication system. Captain, the quantum field is interacting with their bioelectric network in ways I did not expect. We are not just hiding from them. We are listening to everything. Jake felt excitement and fear at the same time. This was intelligence beyond their wildest hopes, but it also showed them how huge the hegemony really was. Dr. Kane, can you find anything about their weaknesses, battle losses, problems with their expansion? Lisa worked frantically at her computer. The data stream was enormous, but the computer was learning to sort it faster. Here is something, Captain. Battle reports from their frontier zones. New messages appeared on the screen. Sector Commander Vorth reporting heavy losses in the Antares campaign. Enemy species employed unusual tactics. Request additional bioships for reconstruction. Warpod Zenth to High Command. Local species. Using chemical weapons that damage our biohulls. Cannot adapt fast enough to counter new poison types. Fleet Marshal Kef urgent message. 3 bioships lost to primitive kinetic weapons. Species used massive metal projectiles fired from planetary surface. Recommend orbital bombardment before landing operations. Jake read the messages with growing interest. The hegemony was not invincible. They had problems. They lost battles sometimes. Look for anything about how long their campaigns take, he told Lisa. More data flowed across the screens. Lisa found what they were looking for. Captain, here are time reports from recent conquests. The Vegan system took them 47 years to fully control. The Centauri cluster took 62 years. And look at this one. The Rigel colonies have been fighting for over 100 years. 100 years, asked Commander Phillips. I thought they said they always won quickly. They lied, Jake said. Or maybe they believed their own propaganda. Dr. Martinez's voice interrupted them. Captain, I am seeing something strange in the quantum readings. The field is not just receiving their signals. I think it is sending information back to them. What kind of information? I am not sure, but if they can sense our emotions through quantum fields like Dr. Kane suggested, then they might be getting glimpses of our thoughts and memories too. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. If the aliens could see into human minds, they would learn about Earth's defenses, about human history, about everything. Can you stop the feedback? I am trying, but the connection is too strong. Whatever is happening, it works both ways. On her screens, Lisa saw new messages appearing. But these were different. They were not in the alien language. They were in human languages. English, Spanish, Chinese, Arabic. Fragments of human thoughts and memories being transmitted through the quantum field. Images of blue skies and green fields. Memory fragment. Child's. Laughter in a playground. Historical data. Battle of Gettysburg. Human conflict duration 4 years. Tactical analysis. World War II. Global human warfare spanning 6 years. Cultural reference. Gladiator combat in ancient Rome. Humans fighting for entertainment. Lisa watched in horror as human history flowed into the alien network. But then she noticed something else. The alien messages were changing. The confident reports of easy victory were being replaced by different kinds of communications. High command to all sector fleets. Delay advance on Sol system. New intelligence requires analysis. Biopsychologist Kent to War Council. Target species shows unusual neural patterns. Recommend extended study before engagement. Fleet Commander Yask urgent priority. Human brain scans show high aggression indices, much higher than any previous species encountered. Jake read the messages and started to understand. The quantum connection was showing the aliens something they had never seen before. A species that had spent its entire history fighting wars. They are seeing our wars, he said. All of them. Every battle we have ever fought. More alien messages appeared. Analysis complete. Human species has engaged in continuous warfare for over 5,000 years. No comparable species in hegemony records. Warning to all units. Human military technology designed specifically for killing other humans. Weapons optimization exceeds standard parameters. Urgent tactical revision. Human species shows no evidence of surrender behavior. Recommend massive force multiplication before engagement. Lisa looked up from her screens. Captain, they are scared. For the first time in thousands of years, the hegemony is scared of another species. The alien fighters around the Leviathan had stopped moving. Their weapons were no longer charging. They hung in space as if waiting for new orders. Dr. Martinez called from the engine room. Captain, the quantum field is becoming unstable. I need to shut it down soon or we risk damage to the drives. How much longer can you hold it? Maybe 2 minutes. Jake made a decision. Dr. Kane, send them one final message. Use our normal communications, not the quantum field. What should I tell them? Jake thought about everything they had learned. The hegemony was huge and powerful, but they were not used to real resistance. They had never faced a species like humans. Tell them this. We are Captain Jake Morrison of the human starship Leviathan. We have seen your empire through the quantum connection. We know you are strong, but we also know you have never faced a species like ours. We offer you one chance. Turn around and leave our space. If you continue toward Earth, you will learn why humans have been fighting wars for 5,000 years. The message went out. For a long moment, there was no response. Then the alien fighters began to pull back from the Leviathan. Dr. Martinez, shut down the quantum field now. The shimmering effect around the ship faded. The Leviathan returned to normal space. On the sensors, they could see the alien fleet holding position, not advancing, but not retreating either. Lisa received one final message from the aliens. This one was short. Interesting. We will study your kind more carefully before we proceed. The alien fleet turned and moved away from the Tau Ceti system. But Jake knew they would be back. The hegemony would study human history and prepare new strategies. The war was not over. It had barely begun. But for the first time in their long history of conquest, the hegemony had hesitated. They had met a species that made them pause and reconsider. Humanity had bought itself time, and in that time they would prepare for the greatest war in human history.